gives me great privilege to introduce our guest speaker this morning, Alison, who's the Secretary of the Department of Veterans Affairs. Alison Frame commenced as Secretary of the Department in January this year. Prior to this, Alison was the Deputy Secretary, Social Policy of the Department of Prime Minister and Cabinet from August 2020. This work included leading the partnerships between the Commonwealth and state and territory jurisdictions, delivering social policy and service outcomes for all. Their key priority for Australia was providing sustained leadership and coordination across government to manage Australia's response to the dreadful COVID-19 pandemic we all endured. Alison has led social policy initiatives and reform across both the Commonwealth and the New South Wales governments as a senior executive for 16 years. During her time in other New South Wales government departments and senior leadership roles, she's led reforms on child protection, domestic violence, Indigenous policy, disability policy, housing and planning and governance. Prior to this, in the ABS, Alison worked at a number of social policy roles, including First Assistant Secretary, Policy and Strategy, Department of Human Services. Alison holds a Bachelor of Speech, Language, Pathology and a Bachelor of Political Science from the University of Queensland and a Master of Public Administration from the London School of Economics and Political Science. Would you please make welcome Alison Frame.
Thank you. I want to begin by acknowledging the Ngunnawal and Ngambri peoples who are the traditional custodians of the Canberra area and pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. And I would like to extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people joining us here today. I also want to acknowledge the current and ex-serving members of the Australian Defence Force and thank you for your service. And I also acknowledge the support and service of your families. I want to acknowledge the Honourable Matt Keogh, Minister for Veterans Affairs and Defence Personnel, who is overseeing the work in DBA that I'm going to talk to you about today. And I want to thank Ian Ingrid for his willingness to collaborate with the department on many of the work reforms that I'm going to take you through today, and to thank him for asking me to come and speak to you this morning. Together, we gather to commemorate the service of all those Australians who have dedicated themselves to the mission of peace. For 76 years, Australians have left our shores to bring peace to foreign lands. More than 66,000 military police are the civilian personnel that stood as a thin and bearded and fight beneath the darkness of legacy. They have prevented, silenced and observed pain. They have helped communities rebuild in the wake of devastation. They have served in conflict that would not outright. They have saved lives, not because they were Australian, but because all lives, regardless of race, faith or nationality, deserve protection. This embodies the finest qualities of the Anzac tradition. Just as Australians in war have always sacrificed and endured to support their mates, so too have our peacekeepers offered that same generous spirit to suffering strangers in countries across the globe. From Kashmir to Cambodia, the Middle East to Rwanda, Somalia, East Timor, Cyprus and the Solomons, Australians had served or preferred to them. In the force of that service, 17 peacekeepers lost their lives. Today we remember them all. For countless others, they would witness some of the worst atrocities and violence that people have never lifted upon each other. Many would carry these experiences for the rest of their lives. As my colleague and friend Matt Anderson, Director of the Australian War Memorial, reminded us this morning, many pays to their service with their lives, but even more pays to their service with their health and well-being. For some, their service had far-reaching consequences and their physical and mental well-being. We know that for some, service can take a great toll on mental health, and we take that seriously. That's why anyone who has completed even a single day of service in the ADF can access a range of services to support their psychological well-being. And importantly, support is there for any mental health-related issue, whether it be related to service or not. This support is needs-based and uncapped and made available through the Non-Liability Mental Health Care Program. In addition to non-liability health care for mental health conditions, the department is proud to directly deliver mental health counselling and support through Open Arms. Last year, Open Arms celebrated 40 years of service since their founding by the Vietnam veteran community. The services they offer are military-aware and trauma-informed, and this is where Open Arms differs from other mental health providers. It is a unique offer that is of high value to the veteran community. It's a service that embodies the mateship and selflessness of the veteran community. In an ongoing effort to improve the quality of our mental health work, I recently took the decision to make Open Arms a standalone division within the department. This decision was made based on the feedback we received from the veteran community, the people who rely on this support. We are also working to further develop our program of lived experience peers within Open Arms, and to apply this valuable workforce more broadly across a range of DBA services and programs. These changes and investments reflect the importance of giving Open Arms a clear focus on high-quality clinical advice and service, which will ultimately contribute to improved mental health outcomes. I encourage any return service personnel who may be struggling to reach out to support that support is always there. Beyond mental health, the Department of Veterans Affairs offers a range of other supports to assist veterans in their lives beyond service. In the time since I took up my role as Secretary of the Department, I've met with staff across the country and have seen firsthand their passion and commitment to provide the best service award. The Department is working to improve the services and supports provided to veterans and their families, and these changes will improve how the Department operates, which in turn will improve the quality of services and support we offer. Over the last year, DVA has worked hard to respond to the Royal Commission into Defence and Veteran Suicide and their interim recommendations. A key focus for DVA, in line with the Royal Commission's recommendation and the Government's support through additional reversing, is to eliminate the compensation claims backlog. The Government has provided additional funding to hire, train and maintain an appropriately sized and skilled workforce, and get the support to veterans when and where it is needed. We are also working to ensure that the backlog is not repeated. That's why we're working to implement the Government's pathway to harmonise the Veterans Legislation Framework. Right now, there are 3 acts under which a veteran may be eligible to receive compensation, rehabilitation, or other entitlements, and there are a further 850 legislative instruments under these acts. It has created a complex system that veterans have to navigate before they can even submit the claim. Likewise, our staff have to interpret the legislation before they can make a determination on that claim. This makes training incredibly complicated, currently taking 6 months to fully train a delegate. It slows down decision-making and has contributed to the backlog of claims. DVA is leading work on the Government's proposed pathway to streamline this legislative framework and to make it simpler for everyone and shorten the time it takes for veterans to receive support and financial compensation for the impacts of their service. At the same time, we're also making it easier for medical practitioners to provide information to support a claim. We are simplifying over 200 complex medical forms and reducing the amount of information that we request. In the last few months, 19 of the most commonly used medical forms have been converted into 7 simpler ones, and we're currently working on the next 20, which will be similarly streamlined by the end of October. Simpler forms mean less administrative impost on doctors, which means more time to spend focusing on veterans and their health and their mental health needs. It is vital work to streamline our system and speed up the delivery of vital support. We are also working to modernise our information and communication technology. Enhancements to our ICT systems will make it easier for veterans and families to lodge claims and access services. It will also position DVA for future modernisation and deliver greater agility in the years ahead. As we look to the years ahead, it is also clear that we have to get better at planning and anticipating the demands on DVA services. We know that a range of factors affect the demand on our services. Things like the size and tempo of the ADF, the timing and nature of deployments, shifting demographic profiles, the nature of service and injury, as well as policy and other operational settings. Over the past few years, as the workload of the ADF has increased, we have seen an increase in demand for DBA services. Likewise, initiatives to make DBA services more acceptable have also contributed to this increase. By improving our data and modelling capabilities, the department will be better placed to estimate the demand for our services, which will allow us to plan to meet that demand. This will result in a better experience for veterans and families who will be able to access our services and support faster. And already our efforts to enact change have had an impact. At the end of August, the claims backlog stood at about 25,000, down by over 1/3 from its peak in September last year. There is still a long way to go, but these figures are picking up pace all the time and demonstrate the impact of increased investment from the government and unwavering focus on DBA. We also know that no matter what services we offer, it needs to respond to the lived experience of veterans and their families. This means services and supports that are directly informed and co-designed with the veteran community. DBA is adopting a new approach to how we engage and collaborate with veterans. I believe it will result in better service delivery for all because it will be directly informed by the needs of the community. The new veteran, family and stakeholder engagement group in DBA will work to ensure that consultation and co-design with those we serve is embedded in all our work in the department across all policies and programs. I'd also like to take a moment to acknowledge our ex-service organisations. They are a critical part of Australia's veteran support system. The advocacy services they provide offer veterans a helping hand when it comes to preparing a claim for DBA or sourcing other assistance to meet their needs. DBA supports ESOs to deliver these services through our grants programs and nationally accredited training. Our advocates' work is so valuable, and I want to take this opportunity to thank you and your organisations for all the work that you do to support veterans and their families. We are currently working with ESOs in a working group to enlist their critical expertise in how we might work together to improve advocacy services and ensure that they are there for all veterans when and where they need it. Going forward, one thing is clear. We know Australians will keep standing up for the cause of peace in our world. It has always been a part of who we are as a nation. And your service over the last 3/4 of a century has been a testament to this fact. There will always be those who willingly put themselves second to protect and preserve peace for others. And when they return home, it is incumbent on our department, on behalf of the nation, to acknowledge that service and provide support whenever it is needed. Today, we stand before this powerful memorial. Its imposing black monolith represent the forces of conflict in opposition to each other. The thin band of light that separates them, that forms a path towards a hopeful future. That is where Australia's peacekeepers stand. And that path to peace is built on 1,000 tiny hours, tiny acts that are incalculably diffusive in their positive impact. Every aid convoy delivered is a child fed, an illness treated. Every landmine cleared, a life preserved, a family saved and grieved. Every vote cast in a free election brings democracy closer and gives the people a right to determine their future and builds peace. Since 1947, this has been the work of Australia's peacekeepers as they have built peace around the globe. Today, we honour that service. We remember the sacrifices that were made, and the department will work with all its capability to ensure that all veterans are recognised and supported in their life after service. For what they have done, this we will do.